to the respective committees are specified on the order paper on pages 858 to 875 of order paper number 044 for purpose of the record. I don't intend to read all the names because members have read. It was uploaded onto the website, and every member knows their name and they can allocate where they are. Mr. Speaker, this list was approved through the selection committee on Monday the 13th for submission to the House. And the overall objective of this reorganization of the committees is really the better performance of committees, and also to align the synergies of the members with the visions of the party leaderships. Special considerations that have been put in place include some regional spread of these names to the extent possible. We've also, in looking at the changes, I just want to alert members that the attendance reports have been reviewed. There was a report that was done of up to October of last year, and that has led to some changes for members who have not been attending at least 25% of the time. You might find that you'll be given more time to attend to other issues that have been keeping you away from attending committee. The list has been reviewed to ensure compliance with the standing orders, and our secretariat has been very thorough on that, to ensure at least every member has been assigned one committee. There are only 3 members who don't have a committee for specific reasons. The member Honorable Musimba, at his special request, the Honorable Waluke, special circumstances, and as we all know, Musambweni constituency, there is no member. So everyone else has at least one committee so that they exercise their oversight. The exercise has also looked at the party allocation. There's 622 slots available, and they are spread within the parties, and that has also been looked into. I also want to alert members, because I know I've received so many phone calls, members saying, oh, I've been put in a lesser committee, I wanted to be in a bigger committee. All committees are created by this House, and this House, in its wisdom, has decided that every committee is as important as any other. So whether you find yourself in one committee that you consider small or one that you consider big, let us first of all recognize the fact that all these committees are creations of this House. And so nobody needs to feel that they are in a lesser or a bigger committee. We are all being called to serve and provide oversight within those, because somebody has to serve in a committee. Some genuine concerns have also been raised after the publication of the report, and particularly, I don't know whether the member for Belgut is here. He's raised an issue that we had overlooked, and for any of those members who perhaps feel that where they're being put, they may not be able to be productive because they might have conflict or something, we'll be looking at that within the next couple of weeks with the whips, and we'll see whether we can rectify. Again, let me just emphasize that these changes, because as you look, you'll see there's a chairman, there's a vice chairman, but no chairman. These changes that we'll be approving today will result in 29 vacancies at different levels of leadership, both in the chair and vice chair. Because obviously when you move your constituency, you cannot then move with the position you've been having, or some may be moving to seek election in those new constituencies, and which means there will be elections for 29 positions. Now, obviously we can't talk about elections before we approve the voters register, in quotes, and hence, in the afternoon, after today, we expect the Speaker will be providing us communication on when the elections will take place and the modalities of those elections this afternoon. And I will also be sharing with the House the proposals that have been received from the party leadership on the proposed candidates, so that in terms of who the party leaderships would propose to chair or be the deputies in the respective committees, and hence, before members who may have some committee leadership ambitions, before you embark on a tedious campaign, especially in these times of COVID, it would be wise to consult with your whip, because you could end up with an elaborate campaign only to find that perhaps your party has already proposed a different candidate. No, I'm not saying in any case that members are at liberty.
I can't see any member. I hear a shout, but I see no member who has placed that intervention bid. But what the leader majority is basically saying: don't spend your resources if you know it is not going to be valuable at the end of the day. So,
Thank you.
What is wrong with that?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I'm only advising members that elections can be very expensive and divisive, and the results may not be quite what you expect. So let's take advice from your respective whips. They will guide you in terms of whether you are a viable candidate or whether they have an alternative candidate before you embark onto that process. Mr. Speaker, as we go through this membership, I am also inclined to remind members
that a member is very agitated back there. Is that Bashir? Bashir, what is it, Honorable Bashir? What is it? It is very difficult to locate you there.
64, thank you.
You know your name is Bashir, but here it is written Abdallah Sheikh. Now, all of them are yours anyway.
The right title is the Honorable Major, don't forget. The Honorable can be deleted, but Major will have to remain. Honorable Speaker.
Actually, it's the other way around. You should be saying, Major, you can mention it yourself, but Honorable, you allow others to ascribe to you.
Honorable Speaker, I hear the able majority leader saying that he's waiting lists from
yes, put your
from the party properly. And the party leaders. So is he insinuating that we are going to have a selection and not elections in the committees?
No, he did not suggest that as far as I can hear from here.
Thank you.
He only advised members to be careful before they embark on rigors of a campaign. I mean, and it was fairly straightforward.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like I said, I'm convinced that perhaps members require this reminder that if you look at the statistics as being released by the Ministry of Health, we are moving into a dangerous zone as far as COVID, the pandemic is shaping up within this country. And the numbers on the rise is getting into the community face. And as members of parliament, we may have our immunity in terms of speeches made on the floor of this house. But we certainly don't have immunity from COVID, and even within our interactions within here. And I would want to ask members that whether you have been tested and you're negative, the fact that you tested yesterday negative does not mean you cannot get infected today. Because I think some people have had that false sense of security, that because I've been tested, now I can interact. I want to ask members, especially in the House, and as we embark on looking for votes in the committees, let's remember the basics on social distancing, the masks, and basically, I expect members are all maintaining their hygiene anyway. So, not just in the House, but also within our interaction with members of the public. Remember, it's now at the community phase. The numbers are moved, and it's not getting better. So let us protect ourselves. Kenyans need us to help them in the task they gave us. I just want to re-emphasize that so that we, as we go forward, we also take care. Mr. Speaker, again, this list, as guided by the Speaker, must be approved as it is. There cannot be any alteration, not even from us, without having to go back to selection committee. So I urge members that we don't take so much on it. We process it so that we can move to unlock the Speaker's communication in the afternoon. And with those, I beg to move and ask the Leader of the Minority, the Honorable John Badi, to second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague, the Leader of Majority. And Mr. Speaker, remember, just before we went on recess, we actually had brought this motion to the House. But Mr. Speaker, because of need for further consultation, which I want to graciously thank the Leader of Majority for accepting to withdraw the list that was tabled that day for further consultation, which we have ably conducted amongst ourselves, today what we are doing is to give to this House the full details, the list of all members in all committees. We have here 15 departmental committees. We have 4 financial audit and money-related committees and 12 other committees. We have tried as much as possible to make sure that at least every member falls in at least one committee. If there is any oversight, Mr. Speaker, we can still deal with it. No work done by human being would ever be perfect. And I think we have tried as much as possible. The whips, our 2 whips, both the Honorable Wangwe and Honorable Junet Mohammed, have done, in my view, very splendid work, and which is very encouraging. Mr. Speaker, there are certain changes which you have made because this is actually midterm. It's like a midterm of the life of this parliament, and we have made midterm changes. And we had indicated previously that we look at even attendance of members in various committees, to look at your enthusiasm and how you value the work in that committee. And we have also assessed other members who probably for the past 2 years plus have not been fairly treated. But Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that we have members who are going to give their all to these committees. I'm particularly concerned about the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, which is going to have a heavy calendar and a heavy workload ahead of them. We have new members in that committee, about 8 new members in this committee. Sarah Korere, Gideon, no, sorry, not 8 members, I'm reading the wrong one. We have about 7 new members in that committee. The Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, who is the whip on majority side, and also the Honorable Junet Mohammed, the whip from the minority side. This is basically, because you know the whips bring order. This is a committee where we need serious order going forward. You know what we expect. The BBI report is going to come, and a lot of it is going to be dealt with in this House. And so we expect the 2 whips to work with the chair and the vice chair to really bring order in terms of legislation. We have Antonio Luoch, who is a renowned lawyer. We have Paul Otiende Amolo, who is a very serious lawyer in this country, and hopefully is going to deputize the chair of the committee, who is likely to be Muturi Kigano, Mr. Speaker. And then we also have Josephine Lesuda, who is a very serious lady, I know, and Robert Gichimu. Mr. Speaker,
Minority Leader, wouldn't you kindly have allowed the matter to go through this phase before you now give the preferences?
I've just talked of likely, Mr. Speaker, and hopefully. And you can't, I cannot be stopped from being hopeful and expecting. Likelihood of something can happen, it may not happen. But Mr. Speaker, let me wind up my contribution to this motion that what the leader of majority has suggested is, yes, there is democracy. But, Mr. Speaker, we are a parliamentary party democracy. And we are here with a lot of contribution from our parliamentary parties. That is why the parties were allowed to make suggestions and recommendations on who sits where. And that was adopted by the selection committee. The same parties have also expressed the desires on the leadership of these committees. I expect the Jubilee side to propose some members to chair and vice chairs, the majority of the committees actually, but also from our side, Mr. Speaker, minority side. And I want to thank the majority side for allowing our side to express interest in a couple of committees, to chair about 4 committees and vice chair of about other 4 committees. That is the spirit of handshake, the spirit of working together as a nation, the spirit of bringing this country together. I know, as I wind up, Mr. Speaker, that there's been a lot of reporting of disagreements between the majority side and minority side. The disagreements between Honorable Kimunya, the majority leader, and Honorable Mbadi, the minority leader. Can all, these people who are talking, the way they are talking, do not know that Honorable Kimunya and I have a long history in the profession. We hardly can disagree. What we did the other time was to agree to consult further. And I'm happy that that consultation has borne fruit. And now everybody, we are all, both of us are speaking the same language. And Mr. Speaker, that is exactly the spirit with which both majority and minority are going to conduct business in this House. If we need further consultation, we will always consult and agree. And when we agree, we agree. And Mr. Speaker, those who wish or would wish that the handshake would break up, I would tell them that they will wait for a very long time. I don't know when it will ever break up, but we are in this together. There were 2 leaders meant business when they shook hands on 9th of March. It was not a child's play. And what we are going to do as the 2 leaders in this House who actually represented them, Mr. Speaker, it should have been Uhuru Kenyatta sitting there and Raila Odinga sitting here if we were in a parliamentary system. But you see, we are where we are. And so we are here courtesy of them. So what we are going to do in this House is going to reflect on what is happening outside there. And you can take my word on that and you can take it to the bank. We have given everybody committees.
I can take your word on anything else, but not where they were supposed to be sitting, because they would be much closer here. They would be sitting next here and the other one there. Your seat would still be that. I'm
presupposing, you know, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, today you don't want me to exercise my democratic right to speak freely. But Mr. Speaker, we have given committees to everybody, including Ochieng, Mr. Speaker, who probably thought a few days ago that we would leave him without a committee. As to whether committee is big or small, it's your own judgment and your own assessment, and you cannot force your assessment on us. As far as I'm concerned, these committees are the same. In fact, there is a committee, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, who in the last parliament, I will not mention which is this committee. No one wanted that committee. But this time, Mr. Speaker, we attempted to remove one member from that committee to another. Mr. Speaker, it was not easy. We had to return that member there. The chairman who has gone to that committee has made the committee vibrant. I'm sure those of us who follow know what the committee I'm referring to. And that chairman has the tendency of wherever he goes to a committee, makes it very vibrant. There's even another committee, which now is probably the number 1 preferred committee. In the 10th Parliament, I didn't see the kind of interest I see in it. But when he chaired it in the last Parliament, it became so important. I don't know how. So all this committee depends on the leadership of the committees, depends on the members of the committee. Please get to this committee and execute, discharge your functions. Mr. Speaker, I second.
Okay, honorable members, I propose a question that further to the resolution of the House on Tuesday, 5th December 2017, appointing members into various committees and pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 173, this House further approves the appointment of the following members to the respective committees as specified in the order paper. Let us have a few members. We will start with the Honorable. Now I'm following the order here, and we'll start with Honorable Amolo. Honorable Dr. Atienda Amolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second and support this motion. Mr. Speaker, first of all, it should be noted, as some member raised a point of order, that in the wisdom of this House, in Standing Order number 173, it encourages the selection panel to consult with the parliamentary parties. So, Mr. Speaker, there is nothing inconsistent either with our standing orders or the Constitution in the selection panel, consulting with the parliamentary parties. Secondly, it is true, I think the Leader of Majority mentioned, that this list, once presented, gives us very little room. Either we adopt it or we reject it. Because those are the words of the standing orders, 175-2. That is the ruling that the Speaker has made severally. Speaking for myself, Mr. Speaker, I think it is also consistent with this special sitting, because in our last sitting, we had extended the time by 30 days, and we are still within the 30 days. I am honored if this list is approved to join my distinguished colleagues in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. I see a lot of distinguished members there. I had always wanted to serve, and speaking for myself and in the interest of time, I second this and I commit to serve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, you definitely were not seconding.
Not seconding, I support. I support the motion, Mr. Speaker.
So we go to Honorable Duale. I'm surprised you put your top on the list. This is real activity at the backbench. Well, from my records here, it is him who is ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, because I have to get used to the new environment. Mr. Speaker, as I support this list, first I want to thank both the Leader of Majority and the Minority, because in my old position, this is one of the most difficult things that the whips and the Leader of Majority go through, combining and compiling committee list to members. But let me not dwell on that. Let me dwell on the importance of committees. Committees are a vital tool and organ for any legislative procedure and processes. Without having an effective and efficient committees, then the plenary will have no business. That must come out very, very clearly. Whether it is the processing of bills, either government or private members' bills, whether it is dealing with the petitions, whether it is dealing with statements and questions under the presidential system of government, of governance. Second and more important, it's committees that conduct a fundamental constitutional obligation known as public participation. So committees do review legislative proposals that are brought to this House. Committees scrutinize the governance activity, the policies, the trade agreements, and all ratifications. Committees deal with the investigation and special issues like Public Accounts Committee and public investment. Committees like appointment, they deal with the vetting and approval of executive appointments. And finally, committees provide a platform for public participation in the execution of specific items. And all committees are, in my opinion, and Mr. Speaker, you know, Honorable Kimunya, because he's learning the ropes, there are certain things that party leaders give instruction that you don't say it on the floor of the House. It might, in a way, contradict the standing orders. You know, yeah, there are things that you do administratively in-house in your offices. Because when we are here, we are guided by the standing orders. And I want to make it very clear. Now, the House has given you 30 days. In fact, the standing orders are very clear that elections should have taken place within 7 days. But because the House overrode the standing orders and gave you 30 days, I think from the time when we got the 30 days, the few days which are remaining must be enough for committees to conduct elections. Speaker, the other thing I really want to raise, and I'm sure, you know, in future I think even the clerk's office should put the order paper the way we are used to, you know, 24 hours.